Okay, good evening everyone and welcome back to Higurashi no Naku Koro ni. I want to put out a disclaimer that it seems like this chapter is dealing with some mental issues. And I will say that last night reading the part with Rena hurting herself was hard for me to do. If you don't know, I myself suffered from that. I'm much better now, but it is very traumatic. And this reading it, almost exactly like she said, opened up memories. So I will be skipping that if it becomes hard for me. And I'm sure you guys understand, and I also want to put this out for anyone that's watching this, that if you do, it does seem like mental illness is a big theme in this chapter. So if you do suffer from that, I want you to not watch this. Or if it becomes a trigger, please stop my video. I want views. I will love some views because I think my acting is phenomenal, but not at the expense of anyone feeling upset. So that's my disclaimer for that, because it seems like Rena is dealing with some actual mental issues, and hits pretty close to home. So that's my disclaimer with that. Now, on to the fun part. Our theorizing before we start each chapter. So, well, we kind of, I had a thought, and then I lost the thought. What was my thought? I forgot, honestly. I was thinking about it, but I'm pretty sure Rena's about to go. Oh, right, about the Oyashirosama's curse. Rena thinks that it's what happened to her, but, oh no, there's a spider. But remember, we have proof. We have proof that what happens to Tomatake is whatever thing Rika had when she went to confront Shion, which I have a theory that whatever that is the Hinamizawa syndrome, I think, where they start hallucinating. Because, now, like I said, I don't know if it's an actual drug or if it's like just the fear and hallucinations coming in from that fear. But remember when in the very first book, Keiichi also clawed his thing out, and we know he was suffering from this because he was having hallucinations of like needles in his thing, thinking everyone was coming after him, and he started freaking out, and then he ended up dying the same way Tomatake died. So we know that those are connected. So I think that Rena at that time was also under the Hinamizawa syndrome, although whether she still is or isn't, I'm not entirely sure. It doesn't seem at the moment like she's hallucinating. So, and like I said, I like to believe that it's mostly people, but I do think that there's a supernatural element to this story, because I know for a fact that Rika is Steins-gating it. But let's just keep that thought in our heads while we continue. Okay, so let's continue now that I've got my little disclaimer out of the way and my theory crafting. Oh, also, that tip about the Forestry Service never came up yet. Oh, yes. Yes. This is the notes. Yes. Rena said she was going to go home and read the notes. About homing ability and homesickness. If you interpret homing ability in a broad sense, you can say that most animals have a homing ability. It's the same with humans. We like to sleep, eat, rest at a place where we feel comfortable, namely our homes. Your home is to you what nests are to animals. Therefore, we can say that humans have a homing ability as well. First of all, why do animals need nests? The answer is the same as for humans. Sleeping, resting, and eating are the essential actions for survival. At the same time, those actions leave one defenseless as well. That's why you need a safe area where you can be defenseless. Everybody knows that not having this safe area results in high levels of stress. When you move an animal to a new environment, it naturally becomes stressed. When you force a person to live in a foreign land where they aren't comfortable, they become greatly stressed as well. Interesting. Everybody also knows that this kind of stress is called homesickness. So you're saying that all the people who died from homesickness? The Japanese don't know much about homesickness. We defined it as mental weakness, and we neglected to treat it for a long period of time. I believe that. However, homesickness has a very long history. In Europe Middle Ages, people believed that it wasn't mental, but rather a physical disease. People also believed that out of everyone, the Swiss got the disease the most. Interesting. The Swiss, you see, were known to be an ethnic group that worked away from home in that era. They lived far away from their homes. There were no telephones at the time, so they couldn't even hear their families' voices for ages and ages. It's easy to imagine that young Swiss workers got homesick while working in a strange land. These Swiss who got homesick wanted to go home, but they couldn't because of their jobs. The conflict made them weak, physically and mentally. Some of them went crazy and tried to escape from reality by committing suicide or running away. The Swiss at the time were very superstitious, and many folk remedies and occult-like treatments to prevent homesickness went around. Since going home was the only treatment, they must have called it a fatal disease. See, this is directly explaining what happens when people go away from Hinamizawa. Okay, I'm sorry, there's a spider here and it needs to die. Not that I have anything against the spider, but it's... yeah, okay, anyways. So it's directly talking about what happens when the people go away. But it must be so intense, driven into their very beings that they believe so much that if they leave Hinamizawa that this will happen to them. Because remember, after the third book, when the disaster happened and everybody was forced to leave, all of the survivors suffered mysterious deaths, and Keiichi ended up dying from a fever. Keiichi, at that point in that book, 100% believed he caused it. But it isn't really one, of course. Specifically, homesickness is a sign of the human homing instinct. Your brain desires to go back to your safe area, namely your home. At first, your brain makes you remember the happy memories of your home, and it urges you to go home in a natural way. But when reason stops you from achieving your desire, your brain starts sending unnatural signals to your body. As a result, your body gets weak, and that makes it more difficult for you to live in a strange land. In the end, you have to bend reason in order to achieve your desire to go home. So homesickness is born from our homing instincts. But is that true? That's interesting if that's true. That makes sense. And the stronger one's homing instinct is, the stronger their homesickness. That's explaining it to a T right there. The strength of the homing instincts varies from individual to individual and depends on the environment in which those individuals live. When your home is safe and the environment you live in is dangerous, your homing instinct grows stronger. Oh. On the other hand, when your environment you live in is safer than your homing instinct becomes very weak. Safety isn't the only element that affects its strength. Cultural aspects affect it too. But I wouldn't consider Hinamizawa safe, considering all the deaths that happened. The many customs demanding families to return home for major events varies with each region. So your birthplace culture also alters the strength of your homing instinct. Amongst those regions, the transcendents of Onikakushi village were believed to have an excessively strong homing instinct. The people of Onikakushi forbade their fellows from ever leaving. Many believe that this was the effect of the elitism and sense of purity I already mentioned before. People today still strongly believe that Oyashirosama puts his curse on you if you break his rule and abandon the village. This superstition can be interpreted as homesickness. If homesickness is directly proportional to one's homing instinct, then the exaggerated expression curse would signify the strength of the homesickness and also their homing instinct. But the only thing that doesn't make sense with is Keiichi, because Keiichi's not from here, unless he loves his friends so much. But I guess no, he died in the second one too from a fever. No. I can assume that they hated the outside world and created an insular society precisely because of that powerful homing ability. Unfortunately, there's no way to measure the strength of the homing ability that primitive people of Onikakushi had. It was so strongly forbidden to leave the village that nobody left long enough to get homesick. However, after the Meiji era, things changed. The sacredness of Onikakushi dwindled with the efforts of modernization. Many young people started longing for city life, and some people were forced to leave the village to get jobs. As a result, villagers started venturing outside the village borders. That was when the transcendents of Onikakushi realized how strong their homing ability was for the first time. The residents of Hinamizawa got extremely homesick. After a while, people started to call this homesickness the Curse of Oyoshirosama. It became rumored that a person who left the village to get a job in a strange land was cursed, that he went crazy and died, and people who had left the village started coming back to it, either it or the nearby town. Their homesickness and their homing ability were so strong because of their culture. It's reasonable to think that these were cultivated by the unique religion in Hinamizawa, namely the Cult of Oyoshirosama. From the moment they were born, they were taught the rules of Oyashirosama. They must have felt guilty about leaving the village unconsciously. As a result, they considered their homesickness to be the curse of Oyashirosama. I'm not quite sure if their homesickness got stronger because of the rules of Oyashirosama, or if they made the rules of Oyashirosama because their homesickness got stronger. I don't know which came first. I got tired of reading such small print and lay down on the floor on my back. The true identity of the curse of Oyashirosama is homesickness? Miyo believed my story, and she let me read these scrapbooks. That's why I expected to find something interesting. But what it's saying is the answer to it all is homesickness? Which many doctors told me so many times at counseling. I'm a little upset. The word homesickness can't explain the extraordinary experience I had. I saw Oyashiro come down to me from a bright light in the bathroom. I saw the dusky red maggots coming out of my veins. This scrapbook doesn't explain any of that. I don't understand how Miyo was going to explain the cloud of maggots. It's all in your head, baby girl. Maybe she didn't have an explanation of that to begin with. Was it just a delusion? I flipped through one of the other scrapbooks Miyo let me borrow, looking for an explanation of the maggots I saw. Then I found it. It had the exact title I was looking for. About maggots and the Curse of Oyoshirosama. In the Meiji area, a group of villagers were on their way back to Hinamizawa, and they started discussing a rumor about a weird disease. They said that maggots started crawling out of the wounds of a person who left Hinamizawa, and the maggots ate the person's body from the inside. The Shinto priest of the Furude shrine at the time explained that the weird disease was the sign of the Curse of Oyoshirosama. According to the tradition, the Shinto priest showed the villagers an ancient scroll, and he told them the story of the maggots had been passed down through the ages. This is what the scroll said. The world where demon came from must be interpreted as the land of death, and the demons in that land had to live their lives while being eaten by maggots. The villagers who are of the demon blood had nothing to worry about as long as they lived in Hinamizawa under the protection of Oyashirosama. But once they left Hinamizawa, abandoning that protection, the maggots that had been sleeping in the blood of the demons would start to awaken, and they'd eat their bodies from the inside out. This maggot disease scared the villagers for a while, and they asked the shrine to provide them with protective talismans whenever they had to leave the village on business. This is interesting, as it's similar to a way homesickness was dealt with by the Swiss in the Middle Ages. After the war started, the delusion of the maggot disease faded away, but they remained accustomed to send talismans to family that lived away from Hinamizawa. The talismans had the word maggot on them. But the most interesting part about all of this is that the residents of Hinamizawa didn't know about the maggot disease until the rumors began. I thought that their unconscious worship made those people think of homesickness as a curse. So this case of previously unknown maggot disease directly contradicted the research I'd done so far. It's natural to think that the group of people who were on their way back to the village were lost in a mass delusion because they strongly believed in the curse, and that the Shinto priest took advantage of this state of panic to instill a deeper faith in them. But I'm not fully convinced that it was merely a coincidence that this mass delusion matched with the story in the old picture scroll. I wonder if it's possible to see maggots in a wound without having the prerequisite knowledge when a person is cursed by Oyashirosama. That's what I was going to say. I was like, how the heck would Rena have ever heard of that, especially if it's so old? Oh. I wish Oyashirosama would have put his curse on somebody I could study. I'd love to see those maggots coming out from someone. I fucking knew it. I knew it. I knew she was fucking creepy, and she's the one who kills Rika. I know it. No. Okay. I felt as if Miyo was here and making that request of me. I remember. When she gave me the scrapbooks, she said that I might be the only one who could understand them. I felt good just for a moment, because I found out the maggots weren't a delusion. But at the same time, it destroyed my excuse that it was a delusion. The maggots weren't a delusion, they were there. All of a sudden, my wrists, elbows, inner thighs, and neck started itching. I'm pretty sure that Miyo gave this book to Rena because she wanted to cause this. She wanted to cause whatever causes the maggot Oyashirosama's curse to happen to Rena. I felt the... I remember that Miyo looked very serious when I talked about the maggots. She must have thought it was creepy, but so did I. While I was crying because nobody believed me, a part of me didn't want to believe that my body was filled with those creepy things. I think part of me wanted to believe it was a delusion, but now I know it wasn't. It wasn't a delusion. There are some people who had the same experience. Maggots in the demon blood will awaken when you lose the protection of Oyashirosama. In other words, they may not awaken under the protection, but all the villagers still have the maggots in them without them knowing. People of the demon's blood are people who have creepy maggots in their bodies. I tried not to jump to conclusions and flip the pages again. I unconsciously looked for something related to maggots. About parasites and the control of the host. The maggot disease made me think about something. It's possible to say that the extremely strong homesickness of Hinamizawa was an infectious disease caused by some kind of parasite. I'm not trying to connect the maggots they saw with the parasites. I'm trying to think about the possibility that their culture might be associated with an infectious disease. Yes! Why am I so smart? I'm so good. Many infectious diseases are caused unintentionally by parasites. But it still doesn't make sense how it would affect Keiichi. Unless just being there. A parasite's host is literally its home. It wants to live within the host for as long as it can. The best way to do that is to coexist with the host without knowing it. But some parasites try to control their hosts and use them for prosperity. For example, some parasites have an ability to control their host in order to force them to be eaten by a superior host. A typical example, I cannot pronounce that. Dicrocoricium dendritic. It uses snails or ants as intermediate hosts, and it forces them to move to the upper side of vegetation so it's easier for a superior host to consume it. One parasite that controls more complicated animals is called Toxoplasma gondii. It uses mice as intermediate hosts, with the superior hosts being cats. By the way, Amber, if you ever get to this chapter, please tell me if these things are actually true. Thank you. Or anyone else who might be a scientist. Please tell me if these things are actually true. I'd be very curious. This parasite makes a mouse lose its fear of cats in order to increase its chance of getting eaten, so the parasite can live within a cat instead. Oh, babies, you don't want parasites, do you? No. There are parasites that chose hosts at random. The Rabies Virus is commonly known for that. Unless he got infected when he moved there by, the girls. And fear is what triggers it. It lives and breathes in the brain of a host and moves into its host's saliva through the there's a lot of very hard to pronounce words in this section. It makes the host extremely aggressive in order to make it bite things randomly so that it can in turn can move into other hosts through the saliva. That's what rabies does. Many parasites have similar abilities to control their hosts to their benefit. The examples I used above are parasites that move into hosts to prosper. But I think there must be some kind of parasite that controls its hosts in order to have a comfortable environment in which to live. I bet 100% she was using the camera guy as a test subject. But he's not from Hinamizawa. As well. I want to try to connect this theory to the abnormal homing ability and homesickness of the Onikakushi residents. Also, we did see a legit vial that Rika had and brought to get Shion. But that just might be concentrated parasite or whatever. Let's say that there's some kind of parasite that exists in Hinamizawa and lives within all the villagers' bodies. For the parasite, Hinamizawa is the most comfortable environment to live in, so it gives the host a strong homing ability in order to make them stay in Hinamizawa. Furthermore, it causes the hosts to get homesick whenever they ignore this homing ability and try to leave. Parasites need hosts in which to live. It's convenient for them if their hosts build a community in the environment where it feels comfortable. This theory makes it easier for me to explain the mysteries I described earlier. The Transcendents of Onikakushi knew about the existence of this parasite. They knew that as hosts of the parasite, they couldn't live outside the village. That's why they created a culture and rules that prohibit contact with the outside world. It also explains why people acted so abnormal during the dam conflict. So, the demons that came out of the swamp in the legend of Oyashiro can be interpreted as the mass spread of a parasite. The story about demons attacking the villagers must be a metaphor for the behavior of the infected villagers who are controlled by the parasite. This theory is so crazy! I should have just laughed about it. But I felt bad for Miyo, so I decided not to. Hinamizawa is controlled by a parasite? You could use that theory to explain how the maggots came out of me. I felt a little dizzy. I was so confused, and part of me thought it was ridiculous. And another part of me thought it was more convincing than any curse. But Miyo was probably erased because she wrote these scrapbooks. If so, the contents of these scrapbooks must be something they can't ignore. They'd try to get all her scrapbooks and consign them to oblivion. What if they notice some of her scrapbooks are missing? I felt a chill run through my spine. I have to keep it secret that I have these. And I'll have to try to understand more about their contents. I remember Miyo told me the 3 families are behind the series of mysterious deaths, and they're trying to resurrect the cult of Oyoshirosama. According to the theory I just read, the parasite must be trying to maintain the current environment in Hinamizawa. The healthiest environment for it is a completely closed village, just like the primitive onikakushi. It must be very comfortable for the parasite if no hosts go outside the village. They don't even like that villagers often leave the village to go shopping. That means the parasite would try to goad the hosts into resurrecting the cult. Huh? I remember there was an article in the scrapbook saying the demon's blood runs thickest in the 3 families. That would mean they have a larger amount of parasite in them than the other villagers, and that they're under its control. The 3 families seem to be planning to bring the village back to the onikakushi era. Reviving the Wadagashi festival at the dam complex can be interpreted as their desire to revive the faith that had started to fade away in the Meiji area. The 3 families, especially the Sonozaki family, have a great influence over the region and the public organizations. What's going on here? I thought this to be a poorly written theory, but the pieces fit together, one after another. I've never played a jigsaw puzzle as crazy as this. I felt my brain swirling due to this absurd theory. A part of me thought this was ridiculous, and another part of me thought I might expose an unbelievable truth. When I tried to look at the center of it, I felt as if I was going to fall into the whirlpool and drown. I'll have to devote myself to reading more seriously. There must be some truth to this. It caused misfortune and made my life miserable after I moved to Ibaraki. I might be able to find the truth, including the cause of my parents' divorce and my desperate behavior. Right then I heard a knock on the door, all of a sudden, scaring me. I hid the scrapbooks under a cushion. Rena, you have a phone call. A phone call? This late? Who is it? It's from a bookstore. Did you order some books? They said they were Oishi-san from the Okonomiya bookstore. He's been following you. Or he figured it out. So the one thought that's sticking in my head is that if we are to believe Mion at the end of the last book before Shion pushed down in the well and killed her, said that her grandma didn't know who was behind the curse. Which I guess if it's a parasite would make sense that she wouldn't know. But then again, she's also like the leader. Why wouldn't she know about that if that was the case? I don't know. It's hard to know what to take as fact and what's just trying to mess with my head more. Like, these are the answer arcs, so I'm assuming that everything that is said is a fact. Not a fact, but can be interpreted as the truth since it's giving us the answers, right? So if that's the case, then Oryo-san didn't know what was behind the curse. I opened the windows, but all they let in was heat and the cries of the cicadas. Oh, it's too hot. Tell me about it, Keiichi. Today was... bleh. Oh, it really is. It was break time between classes, but we really couldn't get any rest. Mian and I leaned on our desks, exhausted by the heat. The younger kids sure are tough, considering how the heat wasn't bothering them at all. Exactly. They were running around the classroom despite the temperature. Exactly! Do schools in the city have air conditioning in their classrooms? No, they don't. Only the teacher's office gets to have air conditioning. That is true. No, there's air conditioning in the classrooms, but they rarely use it because they don't want to, overdo the school. So they're we never have the air conditioning on in the office until, the end of the day. Wow, that's better than nothing. If I were a student at school like that, I'd attack the teachers and take over the office. You'd be the first student ever to do that. I didn't even have the energy to laugh. Mina and I stopped talking and used our notebooks to fan ourselves. I looked at the empty seat nearby. It was Rena's. Rena didn't come to school today. She called and told Sensei she couldn't come because she's sick. Rena seems to be feeling down these days. Yeah, she probably got tired from the heat. Do you really think that's the reason? Yeah, why? I think it's the incident. Maybe. It's probably both that and the summer heat. I can't even imagine how distressing it was for her to commit a murder. Dismember the bodies and get caught by her friends. We took each other's hands at that place. We were united. All of us believed we had closed the case there and regained our peace. But was that as easy for Rena as it was for us? She must not have quite recovered yet. And no, she brutally murdered 2 people. Well, at least 1. This old man thought she'd get over it if she played along with us. But I guess her pain ran deeper than I thought. What should we do to cheer her up? It's best to just leave her alone, I think. Are you sure about that? Yeah, it didn't work with Satoshi, did it? We're her friends, you know. Well, she knows. It's like homesickness, you know. You get lonely, and you want to call you home to hear your mom's voice. But that actually makes your homesickness worse. Mion's worried. Mion is worried that it's going to affect Rena. When you're feeling lonely, the best thing to do is devote yourself to sports or something like that for a change. I want her to do club activities with us, but she doesn't want to. I don't know about her, but people usually have a desire to depend on somebody. You want to depend on somebody who supports you and sympathizes with you. Haven't you ever experienced that feeling? When you can't stop depending on somebody when they try to cheer you up? Well, I don't know. Completely depending on someone means trying to earn even deeper sympathy from them. No, it doesn't, but okay. At that point, even though you're trying to comfort them, they just slip further and further into depression. No, that's not true at all. By finding initial success through relying on someone and receiving comfort, they grow addicted to indulging in misfortune. That is 100% not true. You really should rely on somebody if you're having depression issues. Don't get me wrong, you shouldn't be dependent on somebody, but you should be able to rely on somebody, if that makes sense. Like, one person shouldn't make you happy or sad, But you should be able to call somebody when you're feeling a certain way and talk to them. I think Rena knows that too. That's why she wants to be alone right now. If she wanted to depend on us or get comfort from us, all she'd have to do is to stay with us and cry all the time, except for the fact that she didn't tell you about what was happening to her. So what makes you think that she would suddenly tell you now? So how can we cheer her up? I think she'd appreciate it if you tried to help her forget her pain than if you tried to cheer her up. Don't comfort her and don't cheer her up. There's nothing I can do, is there? That's a golden rule for psychologists, did you know? Well, yeah, yes. Mental trauma can only be healed by the person who has it. Yes, but people can help you heal yourself. How did I get healed? Therapists, my sister, sometimes my mom. If someone helps a person out of their mental trauma, even if they succeeded, that person wouldn't be completely healed. I don't even want to read this bullshit because it's... If you notice that somebody is in a state of depression, you should reach out to them. Do not listen to Miyo. Man, this chapter is really getting to me because it's very personal. I understand the idea, but I don't like how cold it sounds. I clasped my hands behind the back of my head, looking at the ceiling. Miyo laughed. Rena will be fine as long as she has someone like you to worry about her. Except she doesn't know that he's worrying about her. That's the whole fucking point. I'm sure she can pull herself together. Yeah. So all I need to do is be close to her? I don't know about that. There is something you can do, Keiichi. Rika spoke up. I wonder how long she'd been listening to our conversation. What is it? You can listen to her when she wants to talk to somebody. Is that all? I just listen and I don't need to make her feel better? That's true. Okay, people feel better just by talking to somebody. Sometimes all they need is someone who does nothing but listen quietly. Yeah, except for the fact that Rena won't talk to anybody, which is the problem. Just like me said, I think it's important for us as her friends to be there for her whenever she wants to talk to somebody. Oh, except she already proved to you that she doesn't want to talk to you. Just because you did a little happy circle doesn't mean she's going to suddenly change her mind now and flip-flop 100%. I was going to pat Rena on the shoulder and tell her to cheer up when I saw her next, but now I know that would have been a one-sided on my part. Rena doesn't want to feel down herself. She wants to cheer up if at all possible. If I cheered her up irresponsibly, she'd be very disappointed because she didn't think I understood her pain. You're right. I guess I wasn't even trying to understand how she felt. I just wanted to cheer her up, but I know that's just what I want to do, not what she wants me to do. Thanks, you two. I think I finally understand. On that day, I thought I cheered her up, but I started to doubt if I reached her heart. I might have been just dragging her someplace where I wanted her to go. I wasn't on her side in the real sense of the term. All of a sudden, Rika patted my head. Don't worry. We all know that you're on her side. What? Did I say something out loud again? It did reach her heart. Kay, you really did give her strength on that day. Well, now that I think about it, what you said on that day was a little bit more than theatrical. We heard footsteps from the hallway, and everyone stared started to head back to their desks. Take a seat, everyone. President, if you would. All rise. We didn't have a club meeting that day because Rena wasn't around. That worked out for me because I had an errand to run. It wasn't a big errand. My mom wanted me to use her point card to get some detergent. I didn't see out the point of going all the way to the store just to get detergent, but my mom told me to go because she's busy helping my dad with his work. I started walking towards the shopping center. I noticed someone was watching me, hiding behind a distant tree. I wonder who would do such a mischievous thing. I stared at them to find out who it was, at which point they emerged. Oh, Rena! Are you feeling better? I was about to say that, but I swallowed the words. Somehow Rena looked very serious. Uh-oh. What's going on? Shh! Rena put her index finger to her lips, told me to be quiet, looked around carefully, and beckoned for me to come over. I had no idea what was going on, but I followed her instructions, shut my mouth, and ran to her. Rena gestured for me to squat down and to hide in the shadow of the bush. I didn't know why I had to do that, but I could ask her the question later. I just followed her orders for now. Rena looked like she was making sure no one was following her. If it was Miyo, she'd do something like this just to fool me as a joke, but I know Rena doesn't do things like this for fun. I had no idea what kind of situation I'd gotten myself into, but I could feel how tense it was. And I made myself as small as I could. Good. It's okay now. I'm sorry. The tone of her voice made me relax a little. Whew. What's going on? I think someone's been following me. Huh? Who would follow her? When I thought about it, I realized how stupid the question was. Is it the police? Rena Mamiya and Teppei Hojo, two people disappeared. Even though they were awful human beings, the police had to investigate if they found out they'd gone missing. It probably wouldn't be difficult to find out Rena had been to Rena's house. But it should be okay. As long as they don't find those bags, it should be okay. I don't know if it's the police or not, but I feel like someone's been watching me since the night of the Wananagashi. What do you mean? Once I asked that question, Rena stared directly at me with a blank expression. Her eyes looked as though she were evaluating me. She stared at me as if she was assessing whether I was worth talking to about something very important. Rena squeezed her own wrist tightly and then started talking in a whisper. I can tell you what's going on, but can you keep it a secret? Of course I can. If you want me to keep it a secret, I won't tell anybody. Okay, I trust you. She smiled and looked around one more time. They might be looking for Miyo's scrapbooks. Miyo? Oh, the nurse, Takano? What about her scrapbooks? The police are keeping the investigation under wraps, so I'm sure you don't know. Miyo Takano was murdered. What? What? When? She told me to be quiet again. I lowered my voice and let her continue. On the night of the Wananagashi, we met Miyo and Tomatake, didn't we? They were attacked right after that. Tomatake was cursed by Oyashiro. He clawed out his own throat and died. Miyo was burned to death in the mountains of the Gifu Prefecture. Is that true? I mean, nobody told me about that. I know. That's because the police haven't disclosed their investigation. These cases make the 5th of the series of mysterious deaths. So the police have decided not to go public yet. I see. I understand why the police are keeping quiet about, but where did you hear this? Can you keep it a secret? I've been in contact with Oishi. He's a detective from the Okunomiya Police Department. He told me.
Why did he tell you?
I don't know. He said he told me because he could trust me.
I was dumbfounded to hear all this. But I knew she wasn't lying. If it was Miyo, she'd be sticking her tongue out by now, but Rena wouldn't make a joke out of something like this. Whoops.
I think the reason why Miyo was murdered is because of her research. Do you know she was doing ethnological research by studying the history of this village?
I've heard something along those lines. Takano was interested in the occult and in mysterious things. I remember Mion once told me that she was studying the village legends of man-eating demons out of curiosity.
I think she discovered a very important secret about this village through her studies. Or maybe she wasn't even close to the truth, but they thought she was.
Wait a second. What's the secret of this village you're talking about?
I just read a few of her scrapbooks, but those were the ones that she was handling with extra caution, so I think there are pretty important things written in them. I think I know about 80% of what Miyo was trying to uncover, but if it's true, it's almost too crazy to believe. Right now, I'm trying to find out whether Miyo's theory is right or not.
So now Reina's telling Keiichi to see if it affects Keiji. So what is it? What's the secret of this village? What could be so important that you might get killed just by knowing about it? I gasped the moment those words left my mouth. If Rena had told me, I might get killed too.
I don't want to tell you yet, but I promise I will once I verify things. Because it's really crazy. Too crazy to be true.
If he starts hallucinating after this, it's definitely because Rena told him. What do you mean you have to verify things?
For example, I myself serve as verification that the maggot disease can occur without any background knowledge. But there are a lot of things I still need to verify. They sound too crazy to be true, and I can hardly believe them if I don't verify them as they are.
Maggots? I was totally lost now, and I wanted to ask some questions, but I decided not to cut in. Oh, it was hot. But Rena held her arms as if she was cold. Rena, I'm always on your side. You can trust me.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
From her expression alone, I could tell she really meant it. I could also tell she was involved in something very big, and she felt lonely because she couldn't tell anyone else about it. I had to be on her side while she was going through a difficult time.
You shouldn't tell anybody you met me here today. They might try to hunt you if they found out.
Okay. Isn't there anything I can do?
Not right now. But it's very reassuring I can ask for your help when I need it. I'll depend on you someday.
Yeah, anytime.
Shh! A car is coming.
Rena pushed my head into the bush. I went along with it and crouched down even lower in the bushes. We stayed quiet for a while. I could hear a car coming closer, and after a while, a white van passed by. I was surprised at her hearing. She heard the car coming when it was still far off in the distance.
Did you see its license plate number?
What? No, I'm sorry. I didn't.
I couldn't either, but I think it's the same car I saw earlier.
Are they the ones following you?
I think so. It passed me many times today on the street where nobody usually drives. I hit every time, but it's strange.
Are they the ones? Are they the ones who killed Takano and Tomitake? Are they looking for the scrapbooks you have?
Most likely, yes.
I don't blame her for not being able to believe what's going on, because this is really crazy. Takano uncovered something really significant through her studies. The people who want that information found out, and they killed her on the night of the Wanagashi, copying the Curse of Oyoshirosama. They're looking for the scrapbooks, the fruits of her research, and Rena has them. That's why they're trying to kill Rena? What about your house? It's safe there. I hid the scrapbooks in my secret hideout at the garbage dump. I'm worried about my father, but he'll be fine because he really doesn't know anything.
This seems like a trap, to be fair, to be honest.
It's written down your face, Keiichi. It says, I can't believe it because it's too crazy, right?
I wanted to deny it, but I felt bad to lie, so I remained silent in the affirmative.
Well, that's a normal reaction. I couldn't believe any of it when I read it first, either. I finally started seeing the connections after reading all of them.
I'm sorry. I do want to help you, but I just don't know how. If I don't see the whole picture of what's going on.
If I tell you, it might put you in danger.
You're already in danger, right? I don't mind. Don't worry about me.
Okay. I'll tell you then. It's probably the 3 families who killed Miyo and Tomatake. To be more specific, it's the Sonozaki family, Mii's family.
Why?
You know about the series of mysterious deaths, right?
Of course. The traitors of the dam conflict die every year, right?
The series of mysterious deaths is like a resolution of the dam conflict. They're trying to end the dam conflict in the true sense of the term by erasing people who betrayed the village.
It does look like that in a way. Nobody really says it out loud, but everyone's suspicious the Sonozaki family's behind it. That's what I've heard.
But if they really wanted to erase the traitors, they wouldn't have to do it on the night of the Wanagashi. Why don't they kill them all at once instead of killing them one by one, using the curse and demoning them away every year? Wouldn't it make more sense?
I've never heard the words demoning away before, but Rena clearly thought they had some creepy, significant meaning, so I decided not to cut in.
That means they're using the series of mysterious deaths in order to resurrect the sacredness of the Wanagashi festival. Step by step, they're reviving the sacred nature of onikakushi that was lost in the Meiji area. Their goal is to revive the level of belief in Oyashirosama that used to exist in primitive times.
Belief in Oyashirosama. Are you talking about the Furude Shrine?
Yes. Do you think people revere the Furude Shrine now? Elder people respect the shrine, but that's it. Kids think of it as a place to play, and most of the villagers think of it as a place to gather for local events. Its sacredness has been lost. But with the dam conflict, it started to revive. And they took it as a good opportunity to bring back the cult of Oyoshirosama.
So you're saying that some fanatical Oyashirosama worshippers are behind all this?
That's what I'm saying. The cult of Oyoshirosama was managed by the 3 families to begin with. The 3 families passed down their ultimate goal of reviving the cult of Oyashiro down to the present generation. When you think about it, you'll understand why the 3 families took the initiative in uniting their villagers during the dam conflict, and why they set up the onikakushi Guardian's office in the Furude Shrine, citing Oyashirosama, who is almost forgotten.
So the 3 families, I mean, the fanatical Oyashirosama worshippers orchestrated the series of mysterious deaths of Hinamizawa? But wait, why would they kill Takano?
Because she discovered the important secret of this village. The 3 families have been hiding it since the era of the onikakushi. If that secret is revealed, the sacredness of Oyashirosama will be lost. They found out that Miyo was getting close to the secret, and that's why they killed her. What's this important secret? I don't care if I put myself in danger. I need to know. I don't want to tell you. I don't want to tell you until I'm 100% sure about it. I'm pretty sure right now you just laugh. Hey, do you think I'm that kind of guy? I just need a little more time. I can't accept the truth myself because it sounds so impossible. So I need time. Please.
I understand. What day is it now, technically? Because Rika dies on the 25th.
Don't tell anybody about what we talked today. Not even me, Rika, or Satoko.
Okay.
Well, you should go now. I'll take a look around for a while before I go home. I can't be too careful anymore.
Rena ducked low in the bushes and moved away. I was left alone there. The cries of the cicadas surrounded me, making it seem as if I was alone there the whole time. I started walking, still dumbfounded. In the end, Rena didn't tell me the secret because she was afraid of putting me in danger. But she told me that clearly there are people who want to resurrect the cult of Oyashirosama, and that they're among the 3 families that control the entire village. They orchestrated the series of mysterious deaths for that purpose, and they killed Takano-san because she got too close to the secret they wanted to hide. Rena met Takano and happened to obtain the scrapbooks in which Takano wrote about her research. Rena still can't believe the secret written in the scrapbooks because it's too crazy. Hey, come on, Rena. You're kidding me, right? It's like one of those comic book stories. A mysterious occult group plotting a conspiracy? I mean, it's not funny even if it's a joke. But Rena is right about one thing. Even if it is true, it's really hard to believe. I understand why Rena waited to tell me this secret. Maybe she was just fooled by Takano. But Takano was murdered for real. So it's also true that someone's following Rena looking for scrapbooks? I remember Rena said that white van was following her. You can see white vans anywhere. I bet there are a lot in this village alone. She might just be oversensitive to everything right now. Rena hasn't recovered from the shock since that day. That's probably why she got the idea into her head that police or someone's coming after her. I didn't cut in while she was talking. I think I did the right thing. If I had said it was ridiculous or something to her face, Rena wouldn't have ever trusted me again. At that point, however, I gasped. A white van was parked on the side of the street. I wasn't sure if it was the same car that passed earlier since I didn't see the plate number. But the number of people in the car and the ambience to it was similar to the one earlier. And there's one other thing that looks suspicious about it. There was no reason to park here. It was on a small road in the middle of the woods. There's nothing around here. No traffic lights, no vending machines, no public phones. I probably wouldn't notice it under ordinary circumstances, but I felt something was wrong. I wonder if it already infected him. And once I noticed how odd it was definitely suspicious. There were 4 men in work uniforms in a white van. The driver was smoking a cigarette, but the other men were sitting there doing nothing. If they wanted to take a break or have a smoke, they could have chosen a better place than here. It was possible because they stopped because they had to go to the bathroom really badly, but it didn't seem that way either. They didn't look as comfortable or relaxed like they would if they were taking a break. They looked like they were waiting for something to happen. There was a deep tension in the car. Could they possibly be waiting for Rena? No way.
I didn't see anybody walking around here. This is a back road. Nobody really uses this road, let alone a car. But it's impossible. I felt bad for Rena for even think about it, but this must be something that she got into her head because she's feeling victimized or something. She must be imagining things because she's nervous from when her friends caught her in the act of killing Rena and Tepe. Hey, young man. I heard someone say that when I passed by the van. He couldn't mean me. He didn't even know who I was. So I assumed he was talking to the other people in the car. I pretended I didn't hear him and I kept walking by. And then he said it again. And honked the horn as well. I bet it's the police. Hey, excuse me. Are you on your way home from school? He had a strong accent similar to that of the older villagers. He must live here, but I didn't know him. I could tell he didn't know me either because he didn't call me by my name. Yeah, I am. You've been walking on this road all the way from school, right? You turned the corner where the stationery store is, right? Yes. So? They're probably lost, I thought. This village has many small turns, and you can easily get lost when you try to take a shortcut. So they must have been waiting for someone to ask directions. But then he said something disturbing. Young man, did you see a girl on the way here? Huh? Oh, what? A girl with a white hat and white clothes with a purple ribbon on it. Did you see her? Look, I'm just going to say this out right now. If it was people trying to kill her, they wouldn't be so obvious and, ask him straight out. They were definitely talking about Rena. No, I didn't. I wasn't ready to hear them ask that. Rather, I was scared. That's what got my voice all shaky. Up until that point, I couldn't believe Rena's story. I thought it was ridiculous. I actually laughed, if only to myself. That's why I wasn't ready at all. My heart was beating fast. I was sweating all over. I immediately answered no, I didn't, but it might have sounded like an obvious lie. The driver stared into my eyes. He looked like he was trying to figure out if I was lying or not, and my legs started to shake. I felt like a frog under the glare of a snake, and I couldn't move a muscle for a while. But I think the same went for the men, too. They were clearly a suspicious group, and they just asked about a villager, about a girl out of the blue. Anybody would get suspicious. And I was right. The man broke the ice and started making excuses before I even asked him why he wanted to know about the girl. Well, I was asking for no particular reason. We just passed by a girl earlier, but you were bored, so we were just wondering. Oh, okay. Please forget it. Sorry for the trouble, young man. We're off. The man started the engine and drove away. After they left, I saw nothing. That's right, nothing. There was no reason why they had to park here. So, were they really waiting for Rena? See, now he's starting to get paranoid. And that's how it begins. Alright, and that is the end of today's chapter. So thank you very much for watching. And please give me that like on the YouTube channels. Adieu.